Hello, I'm Robin, and welcome to Bookspin. Record of a Spaceborn Few by Becky Chambers, published 2018. This is the third book in the Wayfarers series. And this is an interesting one. I had heard quite a few mixed things about it before I started reading this, and I went into this with perhaps rather modest expectations, but I did enjoy it. It didn't blow me away, but it's definitely a fun read. While this book is set in the same universe as the first two novels, it is actually a self-contained story with a whole new set of characters, and it doesn't really require you to have read any of the previous books. However, it is worth reading them all, I think. They each complement each other, and they each add new layers of world building with an interesting and diverse array of characters. This is in fact a very character-focused story. In this case, the story focuses on the daily lives of people on board a vast generation ship called the Asteria. And the Asteria is part of the Exodus fleet. So the Exodans are descendants of humans who left the Earth a long time ago. At some point in the distant past, our planet became uninhabitable. So we built these ships from melted down buildings and infrastructure on old Earth before setting out and wandering the galaxy. So this lasted for eons until the Exodans eventually met and joined the Galactic Commons, which is a large multi-species alliance that includes other sentient alien races. And this is all backstory to the whole Wayfarers series. But in this book, we gain an insight into the life of people on board the Asteria through the lens of a few POV characters. And these alternate chapter by chapter. So in the process, we learn quite a lot about how their society functions. These people are known as spacers, people who spend their whole lives in space, as opposed to grounders, who are humans who have settled on other planets. There's less focus here on aliens or AI beings compared to the previous books. Instead, almost all the characters here are human, with the notable exception of one alien character who, in my opinion, is the most interesting character, and her name is Gochlalowen, and she is a member of the Harmadian race, which is an invertebrate, blob-like species that is actually very intelligent and powerful. And we get introduced to the Harmadians in previous books, but only briefly. So she is an ethnographer who is staying on board the Asteria on a research project to study the culture of the Exodus fleet. Her character allows the reader to gain a unique perspective on spacer society from the viewpoint of an outside observer, while also introducing us to some of the idiosyncrasies of the culture and the evolution of her own species. Thus, these cultural exchanges provide us with quite a lot of info dumping, but it's done in a very engaging and accessible way. The other characters include her host, Isabel, who is an archivist on board the ship, whose job it is to look after all the records on Exodus history. There's also Tessa, who is the sister of Ashby, who is the captain of the Wayfarer ship in the first book. There's Kip, who is a listless teenager who dreams of getting away from his parents and moving out of the fleet. Sawyer, who is a young man who is from another planet, who has immigrated to the fleet and is trying to make a new home there. And Ayas, who is a caretaker for the dead. And her role is to carry out funerary rites and prepare bodies for decomposition and returning to the soil. She is also quite an interesting character. So at first, when I was reading this novel, it felt quite a bit disjointed. There's constantly switching the POV across all these characters, and the story felt quite meandering as a result. It reads a bit like a mosaic novel. Although later on, there is some convergence between these storylines. Most of these narratives are very heartfelt and heartwarming, with community, purpose, and sense of belonging as common themes. The focus is on individual episodes in the characters' daily lives. And in general, the tone feels quite gentle and quotidian even. Now that probably comes across as a criticism, but I actually quite enjoy this writing style. It's kind of slice of life science fiction. I was never actually bored when reading this. But there is actually quite an important event that happens about halfway through, which really propels the story forward, and the plot gets a bit more focused from then on. But I can't really talk about that without spoiling it, so you'll just have to take my word for it. However, the real strength of this novel lies not in its plot, but in its beautiful characterization and the world building, which is really intriguing, I think. Now, that may not be enough to appeal to everyone, though. If you're looking for excitement and edge of the seat action with lots of twists and turns, then this is probably not the book for you. But for me, though, this was an enjoyable read. I wasn't disappointed. It doesn't quite reach the heights of the second book, which was a real standout novel, in my opinion. And then in book 2, the main character, Sidra, the AI character, she is one of my all-time favourite characters, I've decided now. Also, that book has a much more captivating and focused plot. But this book, Record of a Spaceborn Few, still enjoyable, still worth reading. I'm giving it a score of 3.5 stars, and I'm looking forward to rounding off the series and reading the final book in the quartet sometime soon. So that's it. No book spinner this time, as I'm currently doing some background reading for my next themed video, so my next few books are already decided. The one I'm reading at the minute is 1 Million Tomorrows by Bob Shaw. So, thank you for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more science fiction content.